Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We'll call the meeting to order here at 4:37. And it's great to see all of you face to face here, sort of. Most of you anyway, face to face for the first time in a long time. It's great to be with you. We don't have a real long agenda today, but we'll start out with agenda amendments. Does anybody have any amendments to the agenda for today?
Nothing for me.
I guess the only thing that I would add here is that we'll introduce our newest Arts and Culture Commission member, and he's with us today, Jeremiah Jones. Welcome to you. We're happy to have you on board here.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Sounds good. So my name is Jeremiah Jones. I was born and raised in Pendleton, Oregon. Moved out here in 2013 with a company that I was only anticipating on staying with for a very short time here in North Dakota, and then moved to warmer climates. And within about 30 days of moving here, I actually met my wife. And so she kept me here, and here I am 7 years later, still here. And we have a house here in Moorhead, and no kids, but lots of dogs. I get in trouble for bringing home new dogs all the time. So, but as far as where I come from, I'm an enrolled member of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation in Pendleton. So there's a lot of Native American culture that I turn around and kind of bring to the table. It is not the same. There's similarities between the Native American cultures around here and West Coast, but there's also a lot of night and day differences on certain things. But for the most part, it's all relevant. So pretty excited. I was hoping to meet everybody and actually shake hands back in February, but I got snowed in. So it was a battle all out for trying to keep my driveway. So and as far as what I do, I own my own company, but I also went back to work for a previous company I used to work for, Sunbelt Rentals. So I spent a lot of time with them, and then when I can do my own thing, which slow going at that right now. So other than that, it's pretty much remodeling my home. I don't know if any of you can see behind me. We just did brand new kitchen, and I'm still working on little things to keep it going. So that kind of gives the gist about me.
Well, thank you. That's really nice to learn a little bit about your background too. So we'll look forward to meeting you in person sometime, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Welcome to all of us. Welcome from all of us.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting, which were included in your packet. Hopefully everybody has that or has seen it. And so at this time, we'll
Tim, can I
we'll
interrupt real
for
quick?
a motion to approve the minutes from February 12th, 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve. Soldrold.
Is there a second?
Second.
Carrie?
Yep.
Carrie seconded it. And Kim, can you explain the process for voting? We can't just do a voice vote here.
Right. So I will just call everybody's name and then pause for you to unmute your mic if it might be on mute. And then you can say yes if you are agreeing with the motion, or no if you're not, or some similar verbiage. So Dennis Kroll.
Yes.
Tim Wollenzine.
Yes.
Tim Beaton.
Yes.
Jeremiah Jones.
Yes.
Carrie Winterstein,
Yes.
Kenyon Williams,
Yeah.
Larry Selgevold.
Yes.
The motion is approved. The minutes are approved from February 12th. Thank you. Are there any citizens in the audience to be heard today?
The phone is not lit up, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully at some point in the future, we'll have some audience participation, but seeing as we have none, we'll move on to the next item, which is to designate representatives for the art review team and the community fund advisory committee. And again, you have this draft in front of you, the policy and the artist review team. Kim, would you please just go through the duties here in case anybody has any questions or concerns about that?
Sure. So the public art policy outlines a process if there is artwork proposed to be located in a public space. And so the first level of review is by the art review team, which is comprised of the Public Works Director, the Parks and Recreation Director, the City Planner, Art and Culture Staff Liaison, 2 members of the Art and Culture Commission, and the City Council Liaison to the Art and Culture Commission. And that is where we would look to see if there would be any technical issues with an art concept being proposed to be placed in a public space. And then it would come to the Art and Culture Commission for a recommendation, which then goes to City Council for final approval.
Okay, thank you. And I think, and this is a yearly annual commitment, right? So
Right.
this is for 2020, or is it from July 2020 to July 21?
I'm not sure. We've never had a pandemic, so I've never really had to figure out exactly what that was. It's always been part of that annual meeting type of business, but at the same time, it's not quite the same when we've had such a long stretch without meetings.
And we just had an art review, artist review team, right, a few weeks ago when it came to the benches.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I participated in that, and I know Larry was there as the council representative. None of the rest of the folks from this committee were on there, or the commission were on that artist review team. So I'm willing to serve in that capacity at least for the remainder of this year, if not longer. Is there anybody else with any interest in doing that?
Yeah, it's Jeremiah Jones. I do.
Great. Anybody else? Then we need a motion to recommend that Jeremiah Jones and Tim Wollenzine serve on the ART.
I'll move.
Carrie moved. Is there a second? Tim Beaton seconded.
I'll second.
And any discussion on that? Then let's vote, and we'll use the same process. Go ahead, Kim.
Dennis Crow,
Yes.
Tim Wollenzine,
Yes.
Tim Beaton, you did give a thumbs up. Okay. Maya Jones,
Yes.
Harry Winterstein,
Yes.
Kenyon Williams,
Yeah.
Larry Selgevold.
Yes.
The motion is adopted, and we have our ART committee members. And now the next item is the Moorhead Community Fund. Requires the Art and Culture Commission to designate the chair or a designee to serve on the Moorhead Community Fund Advisory Committee. And you can see these roles and tasks that this commission has, or the Art and Culture Commission representative would have as regards the Moorhead Community Fund. So I guess we designate the chair or a designee. And I guess I'm fine doing that as well, unless somebody else is really eager to be part of that.
I was just going to note that Carrie Winterstein has been previously representing the Art and Culture Commission. So if there are any questions on what those meetings might entail, she can give any insight too. Carrie, did you want to share anything?
I can just let you know those meetings were quarterly, and staff really takes care of a lot of the work. So there was some input at the front end as they were putting together some materials. But otherwise, it's been a relatively low stress sort of commitment. And since the pandemic, we haven't met. There hasn't been anything pressing. But it's a diverse group of people, so an interesting cross-section, I would say, of people interested in expenditure of those funds, and to some degree raising the profile of some of the projects that we're trying to do in the city that aren't just art and culture related, but certainly have an art and culture aspect to them.
Is that something that you would like to continue doing, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm willing to.
Great. Then anybody else have any kind of interest or desire to join that group? Then I'll seek a motion to recommend that Carrie Winterstein represent the Art and Culture Commission on the Moorhead Community Fund Advisory Committee.
Jeremiah Jones makes a motion.
Is there a second?
Dennis.
Dennis seconds.
Yep.
And let's vote in the same process. Kim?
Dennis Kroll,
Yes.
Tim Wollenzine,
Yes.
Tim Beaton.
He says yes.
Okay. Jeremiah Jones,
Yes.
Carrie Winterstein,
Yes.
Kenyon Williams,
Yeah. Yeah.
Larry Seljevold.
Yes.
The motion is approved. Thank you, Carrie, for agreeing to do that. All right, the next item of business is the bench and box art recommendations. And again, you should have this in your packet. I hope you all do. The first part of this info that we have on our packet is the photographs of the benches and what they'll hopefully look like, and the locations in the downtown area. There are 7 benches, and then the 2 boxes that are near Moorhead Senior High School that also will be wrapped with student art, and those are located over on the 2nd Avenue South and 21st Street South area. And I look at those pictures from last winter and I think, man, that looks really nice. No, anyway, the process there was then during the 3rd quarter, right before before school was let out and before we stopped meeting, we did have a working relationship that had been set up with Grady Carlson, who is a teacher of art at Moorhead High School. And he sought the submissions of student artwork to be used for this project. And he received 15 works of art that were submitted, again, right before this break, when they haven't been back in school. And so through the months here, Kim has been working with Grady, and we got a hold of all of the student artwork, and you can see some of the images that, or all of the images that were selected by the ART, the Artist Review Team, a couple weeks ago. And these that are presented here are the recommendations to submit to you for your approval, and then to forward this on to the city council for their approval, and subsequently then the installation of this work on the boxes and the benches. And so I'll let Kim, if you would please explain how things are labeled here and what we have.
Sure. So on page 6 of your packet, you can start to see the student art. And so we used an anonymous process just to make sure that if there were any children or anything that somebody would have as we were doing the review, that other than myself, and even after I transferred it over, kind of forgot whose art was which. So A and B, both of which are somewhat cityscapes of art, although very different interpretations. We're proposing those go on the utility boxes. So as you would look north, one would be on one side, and they would just have kind of a seam where the two boxes are separated, and then one facing the south. And so those two would be on those utility boxes. And then the next 7 are proposed for the benches, starting with the letter C. C, D, E, F, G, H, and I all have unique interpretations. I know one of my coworkers, when they saw the last one, they thought it was lightning, and I reminded them that it was the crazy tree over at Concordia, but without the leaves. So that was the difference. But I don't know if anybody has any other questions or comments on these selections for review.
Is there any conversation about that?
Well, I believe you guys did a really awesome job of picking the artwork. Some of this stuff really relates to kind of the atmosphere that's out there right now. So I think it was a good choice of pictures here. Personally, me looking at this stuff, so.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the work.
Yeah, the members of the committee, also were, and there's a lot of, there are some unifying factors in some of the pieces, but there's diversity in all of it, I think, and it's, when you think about seeing these things on a bench, wrapped on one of those iron benches with all of the slats in it, it'll be really fun to run into those and to see them, I think. Yeah, the students did a great job, and I want to thank Kim and Grady as well for, for persevering through this so that we can get this going. Any other comments before we vote? If not, then I'll seek a motion to approve the artworks that have been forwarded to us for installation as vinyl wrap on the downtown benches and the traffic utility boxes to the city council for their consideration. Is there a motion?
Jeremiah Jones makes a motion.
Jeremiah Jones, is there a second?
I'll second.
Terry Winterstein seconded. All in favor? Kim?
Dennis Kroll.
Yes.
Tim Wollenzine,
Yes.
Tim Beaton, Jeremiah Jones,
Yes.
Harry Winterstein,
Yes.
Kenyon Williams,
Yeah.
Larry Seljevold.
Yes.
The motion is approved, and we will pass those works of art on to the city council for recommendation, their approval. Okay, the next item on the agenda is member reports and updates. Are there any member reports and updates today?
While we're kind of on this topic, I meant to interrupt you a little earlier, Tim. I apologize for agenda items, but I'd like to kind of get a sense of where the city of Moorhead is in relation to the arts with this pandemic right now. I know that there's been are there any park events going on? I know everything seems to have been canceled and shut down for the foreseeable future. Kim, do you have a sense of what's happening around town?
Kim?
I really don't. I guess I know that, you know, different boards and commissions following the amended emergency orders now, the subcommittees, boards and commissions like ours are able to meet. Previously, we were only the city council or groups like the planning commission, where they have state statutes that regulate their meetings, were previously meeting. So we're just slowly moving back. I know the Economic Development Authority is starting to meet as well and discussing different things regarding the CARES Act, which is what the coronavirus relief efforts. And so I know that they're working with supporting businesses. But as for anything specific to the arts, I'm not specifically aware right now.
I guess the reason I'm asking is because, well, to be honest, I had a group that was going to perform in the park about 2 weeks ago, and I was kind of surprised when the city canceled, because I was thinking an outdoor event in the park would be about the only safe thing I could think of at this point. But nevertheless, it was. I'm just kind of wondering if there was anybody that had a sense of if the city is 100% waiting on the state to provide guidance for any sort of outdoor performances in parks or the Moorhead Day Parade or anything like that, or what the status of all that sort of thing is at this point.
I can say that I did see a letter or communication from the Parks Department regarding the Greater Moorhead Days Parade. So I believe that they're trying to plan for it. But again, as some things are just very hard to plan right now with some of the uncertainty. So I know our Parks Department is working very hard to try to support the community, but they're very cautious as well, depending on the type of event. So,
well, while we're all here, we have other areas. I was going to ask Carrie, do you know what Concordia's status is for arts plans for the fall? MSUM is, honestly, I assume we're not going to probably have any indoor performances at all this fall for sure. So I'm not sure what you guys are thinking.
Well, just a couple things that I'm aware of. I did receive the email today noting that the International Music Festival is going forward in Woodlawn Park this Thursday, is it? Or Friday? And in relation to the Plains Art Museum and the International Potluck. So the music festival is happening from 4 to 8 this week out in Woodlawn Park. As far as Concordia and the fall, they are planning on some theater performances. Everything will happen in the large theater space, and they will seat very few people. So they're going to maintain a significant distance between everyone. And the couple of kinds of shows that they're doing actually lend themselves to characters being in masks. So that's one of the ways that they're planning to move forward. As for music, My understanding is that they are still hopeful that smaller ensembles can create sort of bubbles and performing, but they, everything is a little uncertain. They're trying to say yes and plan for if things have to stop, as opposed to not planning for anything at all.
Tim, is there a
Theater is planning on a sort of hybrid season. We won't start until October. It'll be a one-person show, and most likely we'll only seat 10 people or 15 at the most, and then have essentially filming happening at the same time so that a home audience can hear audience reacting, but it will be a very small and separated audience. So that's sort of our best case scenario in terms of actually performing. And then throughout the season, the shows will grow slightly. So the next show will only have 2 actors, the final show in the spring, perhaps 4. That's our hope at this point, with only 3 in the season.
Mm-hmm. I've heard nothing from the organizations that I'm affiliated with as far as performances in the fall, and I think that's again just people waiting to know more details. That's in particular those groups are the Lake Agassiz Concert Band and the Fargo Moorhead choral artists. And so I've heard nothing from about plans for either of those groups to get started again in the fall.
I guess I'm just kind of bringing all this up because as the city commission on this, I mean, our performing arts and organizations are taking a hit. Carrie, I don't know how you guys are going to manage with grants and loans and everything else going by, but I can't imagine that the art museum is going to be doing spectacularly right now. FM Symphony, I know, is making plans and changing literally every other week, and budgets are going to be a challenge. So I was wondering if there's something we might be thinking long term in this commission, what we can do to somehow aid, make aware the community of the plight of the arts, and because it's so easy to lose an institution like the FM Symphony from a year or two of this. Literally 100 years when swiped out, and it's not going to restart itself that easily, or theater productions and such in town as well. So I don't know, it's something to put on people's radar, maybe to discuss at our next meeting of ideas to encourage, support, raise awareness of the needs of the artists in our community.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess I would wonder, I don't really know much about the process by which the city commission makes its determination regarding the funds that go to the arts partnership for re-granting out to organizations and artists. I think that's something that the city, in a budgeting process, needs to be really aware of. The whole sector is really going to be damaged this year. And when those budget discussions come up, I imagine there's going to be lots of sectors that feel that the pressure and the pinch of what's happening now. I think it's true that the entire arts and culture sector in Fargo Moorhead, West Fargo, could potentially implode. And anything that we can do, either from obviously private funding, all of the organizations are searching, making those appeals, but anything that the city can do to help make sure that funds get out to those organizations, I think it's going to make a really big difference, can make a big difference. Tim?
I muted because I was hearing so much feedback there.
Oh.
I was wondering if maybe we want to put this on our agenda for next month and continue to think about this and see what other kinds of information we might have by then. And if there's any kind of way that we can lend some support to what the council might be willing to consider.
Tim?
Yeah.
Right now the budget process for the city is still at the department heads referring to the city manager. It has not come before the council. I can speak for myself and kind of a general feel, I think, is that it's going to be very, very tight. I mean, it's like you don't want to come across asking for a tax increase this year. And what they're basically going to try to do is preserve a lot of personnel and not try to not grow assets. I mean, it's like a business in the pandemic. That's going to be tough. And you don't want to do it. I know I got a lot of thank you notes being on the city council from various arts people, but I have no idea how that money was sent out. I was elected in November and it was not part of anything that I dealt with. So when that comment came about how we disperse, I don't know that. It was like, I got a lot of thank you cards saying thank you. And you're welcome, but I don't know how it was dispersed. So, but it'll be an interesting year, and we'll have to see what kind of support we can have for the arts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, and thank you for that, Larry. That's it's going to be tough for lots of organizations and individuals as well. I think probably the most we can do is just to keep our faces out there and keep our cause in people's minds, and and be aware that this is tough on artists as well, and we don't want to lose this. We don't want this time of change, or this quiet time, to become an accepted kind of normal beyond the pandemic. It is going to end at some point. We just don't know when or how or what's on the horizon, right? So, I appreciate the conversation here, and for bringing that up, Kenya. Thank you for doing that. And at this point, I guess I'd be open to more conversations if that's if there's something that we can do. I mean, are there things happening in other communities to just create awareness and show support for the arts?
I was going to add that us over at FMVA, we are still planning on doing the studio crawl. Right now, we're planning on having it the same as usual, giving the artists the option of having people come to the studio or just kind of using it as advertising themselves, if they didn't want people to come to a studio. So unless something, drastic happens, we're still planning on doing the studio crawl this fall.
That's great.
And if something does happen, then we've got backup plans to try and do something virtual, but still have the studio crawl.
What is the day of the studio crawl? Is it Saturday in October or something like that?
It's the first weekend in October. The first Saturday, Sunday.
The reason I'm wondering is it's early enough in the season. We have performing arts groups like perhaps Lake Ag that could potentially get together and do one quick rehearsal, easy tunes, but need a venue to perform in. And an outdoor performance in association with studio crawl in early October is still doable. November, that's not going to happen. But I'm trying to think creative ways we can kind of keep the arts at least in the public eye and some outdoor events. Some things that might get thrown out there. It's just my concern is the longer the arts, as Tim was saying so well, the longer the arts are out of the public eye, the easier it is to ignore them, and then you don't realize what's gone until you suddenly hear that, Trollwood's gone, FM Symphony's gone, FM Opera's gone, and it just happened really over months, So we were already starting to see some art organizations been hit by budget cuts even before the pandemic hit. I mean, MSUM Theater, for crying out loud, is probably gone. So we're trying to figure out how it's going to impact other areas as well, and anything to raise awareness, to give people a chance to perform. Because many performing artists right now would like to perform, but literally don't have a venue, a location, or a reason. Because without an outdoor established place, time, or event that will attract people in a safe setting, nobody can event in a hall that seats 100, and they can only handle 15 people at a time. So I don't know, just creative ideas would be wonderful. So please be thinking about that.
Yeah. Any other comments? Well, is there any other business today that we need to consider here? If not, we should think about, we have on the calendar our next meeting scheduled for, you have that on the top of your mind there, Kim?
I don't. Sorry.
The third Monday in August, the 17th of August?
That sounds probably about right. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, then the next meeting will be on that date, and you'll receive some communication from us prior to that. If there's no further business, we'll adjourn this meeting then for today. Thank you all for coming and for your time and service, and we'll see you in a month, if not sooner.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.